Sometimes life brings us to a point where we have so much to say, but no one left to listen. The people we once considered our own suddenly become strangers. The people whose hands we trusted slowly let go of ours, and the loneliness that follows can feel unbearable. In those moments, we often ask ourselves, why is this happening to me? But sometimes, the people who leave our lives are not the end of our story. Their departure can become the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where we learn our own strength, discover the value of faith, and understand that our entire life cannot depend on other people. This is the story of a young man named John, whose life changed when the people he trusted most abandoned him. John lived in a small village with his parents and younger brother. He was a simple, hard-working young man who loved his family deeply. He had very little money, but he had a big heart. Every morning before sunrise, he would wake up, pray, and go to work in the fields. His greatest dream was to build a better home for his parents and give his family a peaceful life. John also had a close childhood friend named Eliab. They had grown up together, shared their dreams, and helped each other through many difficult moments. John considered Eliab more than a friend. He considered him a brother. Whenever Eliab needed help, John never hesitated. He gave him his time, money, and strength whenever he could. John believed that true relationships were tested during difficult times. But he was about to discover that not everyone who walks beside you during good times will remain beside you during the storm. One year, a terrible drought struck the village. The fields became dry, crops failed, and many families lost their source of income. John's family was also badly affected. His father became sick, and the responsibility of the entire household fell on John's shoulders. John worked harder than ever, but his efforts were not enough. Finally, he went to Eliab and asked him for help. John believed that the friend he had helped so many times would surely stand beside him now. But Eliab looked at him and said, "I am struggling too. I cannot help you." John stood silently. He did not argue. He did not remind Eliab of all the times he had helped him. He simply lowered his head and walked away. That day, something inside John broke. The person he had trusted like a brother had turned away when John needed him the most. But the pain did not end there. As the weeks passed, other villagers also began avoiding John. Some people stopped talking to him, others whispered behind his back. A few even blamed his family for their own problems. John began to feel completely alone. One evening, he walked outside the village and sat beneath a tree. The sky was filled with stars, but his heart was filled with darkness. He looked toward heaven and said, "Lord, I have tried to do what is right. I have helped people whenever I could. I have never wished harm upon anyone. So why am I being left alone? Why have the people I trusted abandoned me?" Tears rolled down his face. For the first time in his life, John felt that he had no one. An elderly man named Samuel, who lived nearby, happened to see him sitting there. Samuel had spent many years studying scripture and trusting God through difficult seasons of life. He slowly walked toward John and sat beside him. "What is troubling your heart, my son?" Samuel asked. John told him everything. He spoke about his family, his friend, the villagers, his failures, and his loneliness. Finally, he said, "I don't know what to do anymore." Samuel remained silent for a moment and then said, "Sometimes God allows people to leave our lives not to destroy us, but to teach us where our true strength comes from." John looked at him. Samuel continued, "We often believe that our strength comes from the people standing beside us, but there are moments when God allows every human support to disappear so that we can discover a deeper kind of faith." "But what should I do when everyone leaves?" John asked. Samuel smiled gently. "Keep walking! Even when you are crying? Yes, walk while you are crying, even when you don't understand what is happening. Yes, keep walking, even when you don't understand. And what if I am afraid? Then walk with faith while you are afraid. Samuel placed his hand on John's shoulder and said, "Never confuse a difficult season with the end of your life. Sometimes what looks like an ending is only the beginning of a new chapter." Those words stayed in John's heart. The next morning, he decided to stop asking why everyone had left him. Instead, he asked himself a different question. What can I do with the life I still have? From that day forward, John began working on himself. He woke up early every morning. He prayed. He worked. He learned. He stopped wasting his energy on people who had rejected him. He stopped trying to prove his worth to those who did not value him. He decided that his future would not be controlled by the opinions of others. One day, John found an abandoned piece of land outside the village. The soil was dry and hard. Nobody wanted to work there because everyone believed nothing could grow on it. But John looked at the land differently. He said, "Maybe the soil is not dead. Maybe it only needs someone willing to work patiently." So he began digging. Day after day, he worked. People laughed at him. Some villagers said, "You are wasting your time." Others said, "Nothing will ever grow there." But John did not listen. Every time he felt discouraged, he remembered Samuel's words, "Keep walking." Weeks passed, then months. Slowly, something changed. John repaired an old well near the field. He carried water by hand. He removed stones from the soil. He planted seeds and cared for them every day. Then, one morning, he saw something he had been waiting for. A tiny green plant had appeared from the dry soil. John smiled. It was small, but to him it was a miracle of hope. The same land everyone had called useless was beginning to live again. Months later, the field became green. People who had laughed at John now stood silently and watched. His hard work had produced something beautiful. But the greatest change was not in the field. It was inside John. He was no longer the young man who needed everyone's approval. He had learned to stand on his own feet. He had learned that rejection could make him stronger. He had learned that loneliness could become a place of growth. And most importantly, he had learned that his faith could survive even when his circumstances did not make sense. One day, Eliab came to him. The same friend who had refused to help him during his darkest days now stood before him. Eliab looked ashamed. "John," he said, "I am sorry." John remained quiet. Eliab continued, "When you needed me, I turned away from you. I regret it." John could have humiliated him. He could have reminded him of everything he had done. He could have said, "Where were you when I was suffering?" But John had changed. He simply said, "I forgave you a long time ago." Eliab looked surprised. John continued, "Not because what you did was right, but because I did not want to carry your actions in my heart forever." Then he said something Eliab never forgot. "When you left me, I thought my life was falling apart. But your absence taught me something important. I learned that I can love people without depending completely on them. I can forgive people without allowing them to control my future. And I can lose someone's support without losing my faith." Eliab's eyes filled with tears. John had every reason to become bitter. But instead, he had become wiser. Years passed. John became successful, but he never forgot his difficult days. He began helping poor families in the village. He taught farmers how to improve their crops. He gave food to people who were struggling. One day, heavy rains came and damaged many homes in the village. The same people who had once ignored John came to him for help. John did not turn them away. He opened his doors. He shared his food. He helped rebuild their homes. Someone asked him, "Why are you helping people who once abandoned you?" John smiled and replied, "Because I know what it feels like to suffer alone. I don't want anyone else to feel that pain." That day, the villagers finally understood the man John had become. He had not learned revenge. He had learned forgiveness. He had not learned to hate people. He had learned wisdom. He had not learned to stop loving. He had learned to love without losing himself. And he had not learned that people are unnecessary. He had learned that people can be a blessing, but God must remain the foundation of our hope. The Bible contains many stories of people who experienced rejection, loneliness, suffering, and loss. Job lost almost everything he had, yet his story reminds us that suffering does not have to destroy faith. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers and sold into slavery, yet the very place of his suffering eventually became part of his journey toward purpose. David experienced rejection and danger before becoming king. Again and again, Scripture teaches us that a difficult season does not mean that God has abandoned us. Maybe you are going through such a season today. Maybe someone you loved has walked away. Maybe a friend betrayed you. Maybe a relationship ended. Maybe your family does not understand you. Maybe you helped someone when they were struggling, but when your turn came, they disappeared. If that is your story, remember this. Someone leaving you does not mean you have lost your worth. Someone rejecting you does not mean you are unworthy of love. Someone betraying you does not mean everyone in the world will betray you. And the end of one relationship does not mean the end of your life. Sometimes God closes a door because He knows you would remain standing at that door forever if it stayed open. Sometimes people leave because their role in your journey has ended. Sometimes loneliness becomes the classroom where you finally learn who you are. So do not be ashamed of your tears. Do not hate yourself because someone did not choose you. Do not destroy your future because someone hurt your past. Cry if you need to. Pray when you feel weak. Rest when you are tired. But keep moving. You may not understand what God is doing today, but that does not mean He has stopped working. Remember Joseph. His brothers thought they were destroying his future, but God was preparing him for a greater purpose. Remember Job. His darkest season was not the final chapter of his story. Remember David. Before the crown came the wilderness. Before the victory came the struggle. And perhaps your current struggle is preparing you for something you cannot see yet. So if your own people have left you, don't spend the rest of your life standing at the place where they walked away. Turn around. Look forward. Pick yourself up. Pray. Work. Grow. Forgive. And keep walking. One day, you may look back at this painful chapter and realize that the moment you thought your life was breaking was actually the moment you began becoming stronger. Because sometimes life teaches us how to live only after the people we depended on teach us how to stand alone. And sometimes the greatest lesson is this: people may leave your side, but your purpose does not have to leave with them. People may break your heart, but they do not have to break your future. People may abandon you, but you can still choose faith, hope, forgiveness, and courage. So keep going. Your story is not over. The chapter of loneliness may be painful, but it is not the whole book. There are still chapters of healing. There are chapters of growth. There are chapters of success. There are chapters of peace. And perhaps, one day, your story will become the reason another broken person decides not to give up. Trust God. Do your part. Keep your heart clean. And never forget, sometimes the people who leave us teach us how to stand, but the faith we develop while standing teaches us how to live.